Selamat pagi, saya Kim Young-su, Regional Director KOCCA Indonesia. Terima kasih atas kedatangannya di acara kami Korea Indonesia Animation and Character Licensing Workshop 2022. Semoga ada pertukaran proaktif antara dua negara pada periode pandemi ini. Terima kasih banyak. 안녕하십니까. 저는 한국콘텐츠진흥원 인도네시아 비즈니스센터장 김영수입니다. 지금부터 한인리 K콘텐츠 비즈위크의 부대 행사인 2022 한인리 애니메이션 캐릭터 라이선싱 워크숍을 시작하도록 하겠습니다.
Mari kita mulai acara Korea Indonesia Animasi dan Karakter Licensing Workshop 2022, acara sampingan dari K-Content Bizweek.
오늘 워크숍은 코로나19로 양국 인사가 직접 대면 행사를 가지지 못하는 대신 온라인으로 진행하게 되었음을 양해해 주시고요. 이곳 인도네시아 자카르타와 대한민국 서울에서 줌 미팅 및 유튜브 생중계로 진행됩니다.
Mohon memahami acara workshop hari ini akan menjalani dengan online antara Seoul Korea dan Jakarta Indonesia tanpa bertemu kedua negara dikarenakan COVID-19. Saat ini siaran langsung melalui Zoom dan YouTube Live.
이번 워크숍은 지난 2021년 8월과 11월에 양국 협단체 간 MOU 체결 후속으로 마련된 행사인데요. 양국 애니메이션 캐릭터 라이선싱 산업과 시장 동향 정보 및 기술 정보를 상호 공유하고 나아가 양국 간 활발한 비즈니스 협력을 통해 글로벌 시장으로 진출하기 위한 첫걸음이 되길 기원합니다.
Workshop kali ini sebagai acara tindakan kelanjutan. Saya berharap menjadi langkah pertama untuk masuk market global melalui kerjasama antara kedua negara secara komunikasi yang baik, seperti informasi aliran industri animasi, licensing karakter, dan informasi teknologi.
본격적으로 행사를 시작하기 전에 오늘 참석해 주신 귀빈 인사말이 있겠습니다. 첫 번째로 한국 애니메이션 산업협회 홍성호 회장님을 모시겠습니다. 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Sebelum kita mulai special lecture, mari kita dengarkan sambutan dari VIP hari ini. Pertama-tama, Mr. Hong Song-ho selaku Ketua KAIA atau Korea Animation Industry Association. Kami persilakan.
저걸 끄면 되지 않아? 우리는 못.
이거를 회장님이 말씀하셔야 되잖아요.
양국 교류 협력의 일환으로 오늘 이렇게 한국 인도네시아 K 콘텐츠 윅 워크숍을 개최하게 돼서 매우 기쁘게 생각합니다. 오늘 이 행사를 주관하는 한국콘텐츠진흥원 인도네시아 센터의 김영수 센터장님과 인도네시아 애니메이션 산업협회 데럴 윌슨 회장님께 감사드립니다. 그리고 워크숍 준비를 위해서 애써주신 콘텐츠진흥원 관계자 여러분들께도 감사드립니다. 또 오늘 행사에 강연을 맡아주신 양국의 강연자분들께도 깊은 감사의 인사를 드리고요. 한국 애니메이션 산업은 지난 20년간 애니메이션 기업과 정부 기관의 노력으로 의미 있는 성장을 보태오고 있습니다. 인도네시아의 애니메이션 산업 역시 놀라운 성장을 보여주고 있습니다. 이번 양협회 간의 업무 협약을 통해 양국의 강점들을 적극적으로 결합해서 글로벌 시장에서 충분한 경쟁력을 가질 수 있도록 지속적으로 협력해 나가야 한다고 생각합니다. 최근 한국은 제작 파이프라인에 게임 엔진을 도입하는 등 제작 환경의 구조적 변화와 진화를 통해 지금까지와는 조금 사뭇 다른 성장을 시도하고 있습니다. 오늘 이 워크숍에서 다뤄질 스페셜 강연도 제작 파이프라인과 시장의 변화에 대한 내용입니다. 앞으로도 양국 간의 서로에 대한 이해를 바탕으로 협력과 논의를 지속적으로 할 수 있는 계기를 마련하는 양국 애니메이션 산업의 큰 발전이 있도록 기대하고 있습니다. 오늘 이 행사와 모든 참석해 주신 모든 분들께 깊은 감사드리면서 좋은 시간 되시길 바라겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Salam jumpa kepada terhormat para penghadir acara workshop tahun 2022. Saya Hong Song-ho, Ketua Asosiasi Industri Animasi Korea. Saya sangat senang hari ini akan mengadakan workshop Korea Indonesia K-Content Bizweek untuk pertukaran dan kerjasama antara kedua negara. Saya berterima kasih kepada Kim Yong-soo, Direktur KOCCA Indonesia, dan Bapak Terry Wilson, Ketua Indonesia Asosiasi Industri Animasi, dan Korea Creative Content Agency yang bekerja tekun untuk mempersiapkan acara. Terakhir, ingin mengucapkan terima kasih juga dengan sungguh kepada para presenter dari kedua negara pada acara hari ini. Industri animasi Korea telah pertumbuhan lekas karena kerjasama antara perusahaan yang berhubungan dengan animasi dan ada upaya lembaga pemerintah. Industri animasi Indonesia juga menunjukkan pertumbuhan yang luar biasa. Kali ini melalui MOU antara kedua asosiasi, kekuatan kedua negara menggabungkan secara aktif dan harus kita kerjasama terus-menerus supaya mempunyai kompetitif di pasar global. Belakangan ini, Korea mencoba untuk mencapai pertumbuhan terobosan melalui perubahan struktural dalam lingkungan produksi yang memperkenalkan teknologi baru. Spesial presentasi hari ini juga akan membahas tentang terobosan pertumbuhan teknologi. Dalam produksi pipeline, di masa depan jika ada kesempatan untuk komunikasi berkelanjutan antara kedua negara, berdasarkan saling pengertian industri animasi dan akan membawa perkembangan yang lebih besar. Saya berharap acara hari ini akan menjadi waktu yang bermakna bagi semua yang hadir. Terima kasih.
네, 말씀 감사합니다. 양국 애니메이션 산업 성장을 토대로 교류를 강화해 나가자는 회장님의 말씀이 있었습니다. 그럼 다음으로 인도네시아 애니메이션 협회의 다릴 윌슨 회장님의 인사 말씀을 듣도록 하겠습니다. 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Terima kasih atas kata sambutan. Ketua Mr. Hong mengatakan bahwa kita harus memperkuat pertukaran berdasarkan pertumbuhan industri animasi antara kedua negara. Berikutnya ada kata sambutan dari Bapak Terry Wilson, Ketua AINAKI. Mohon beri tepuk tangan yang meriah.
Ya, selamat pagi. Semuanya, yang terhormat kepada Mr. Kim Yong-soo, Regional Director KOCCA Indonesia, Handari Kunti, Chairman ALMI, Sun Ho Hong, Chairman KAIA, Si Hee An, Chairman I Love Character, para undangan dari lembaga dan asosiasi terkait, para narasumber dan teman-teman yang hadir di sini. Bapak dan Ibu yang saudara-saudara yang saya banggakan, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Salam animasi, puji dan syukur kita sampaikan kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, karena pada saat ini kita semua masih diberikan kekuatan dan kesehatan, sehingga kita dapat berkumpul hari ini pada acara Korea Indonesia Animation and Character Licensing Workshop 2022. Saya ingin mengucapkan selamat datang para perwakilan Ministry of Culture, Sport, and Tourism of Republic of Korea sebagai host hari ini, Korea Creative Content Agency sebagai penyelenggara atau organizer, serta perwakilan asosiasi dari Korea Animation Industry Association dan I Love Character. Saya sampaikan terima kasih atas kehadirannya, serta terima kasih juga kepada wakil-wakil studio animasi dan lembaga terkait yang telah ikut memfasilitasi kegiatan pada hari ini. Berada di kegiatan hari ini membuat saya senang karena kegiatan ini kita dapat saling merangkul bersama untuk berjalan dan meningkatkan hubungan kerjasama bilateral di sektor animasi antara Indonesia dengan Korea yang akan menimbulkan efek domino ke sektor-sektor lain di sekitarnya. Terlebih, sebagaimana tujuan dari kegiatan ini adalah untuk meningkatkan pengetahuan terkait lisensi animasi dan karakter pada market Asia dan global. Hal tersebut diharapkan akan memicu para pelaku industri animasi baik di Indonesia maupun di Korea Selatan untuk bersinergi dan bersaing di dunia animasi lokal dan juga global. Demikian untuk sambutan saya hari ini. Semoga kegiatan ini dapat membawa dampak positif kepada seluruh pihak, serta kegiatan ini dapat kita selenggarakan secara rutin ke depannya, sehingga akan semakin banyak pihak mendapatkan manfaat. Terima kasih.
자랑스러운 신사숙녀 여러분, 안녕하세요. 좋은 아침입니다. 그리고 애니메이션에게도 좋은 아침이라고 인사하고 싶군요. 이 시간 우리 모두에게 힘을 주셔서 건강하게 오늘 2022년 한인니 애니메이션 캐릭터 라이선싱 워크숍에 모이게 하신 유일무이하 신신께 찬양과 감사를 드립니다. 오늘의 행사를 주관하신 한국콘텐츠진흥원 한국애니메이션 산업협회 대표님, 그리고 아이러브 캐릭터의 대표님, 여러분을 환영합니다. 이 자리에 참석해 주셔서 협회를 대표하여 감사를 표합니다. 아울러 금일 행사가 잘 진행될 수 있도록 흔쾌히 활동에 참여해 주신 애니메이션 스튜디오와 관련 기관 대표분들께도 감사드립니다. 오늘 이 같은 활동을 저는 매우 좋아합니다. 어떤 이유일까요? 이런 행사들로 인해 우리는 앞으로 나아가기 위해 서로를 포용할 수 있게 되고 주변의 다른 부문들의 도미노 효과를 가져올 애니메이션 부문에서 상호 간의 협력 관계를 강화할 수 있기 때문입니다. 이번 행사의 주된 목적은 아시아 글로벌 시장에서 애니메이션 캐릭터 라이선스 관련 지식을 높이기 위함입니다. 인도네시아와 한국의 애니메이션 산업 관계자들이 협력하는 계기가 되어 로컬 및 글로벌 시장에서 경쟁할 수 있기를 기대합니다. 오늘 저의 인사말과 같이 2022년 한인니 애니메이션 캐릭터 라이선스 워크숍이 참석하신 모든 분들께 긍정적인 영향을 미칠 수 있기를 바라며 우리는 이런 활동을 앞으로 정기적으로 가져서 점차적으로 더 많은 분들께 유익한 자리를 제공할 수 있도록 노력할 것입니다. 감사합니다.
네, 좋은 말씀 감사합니다. 다리우 리슨 회장님께서는 인도네시아 애니메이션 및 라이선싱 역량의 세계화를 강조하셨습니다. 이를 위해 양국 간 협력의 기회를 확대할 수 있도록 저희 한국콘텐츠진흥원이 적극 지원하도록 하겠습니다. 이어서 아이러브 캐릭터 안세희 대표님의 인사말을 경청하도록 하겠습니다. 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Terima kasih atas kata sambutan yang baik, Bapak dari Wilson, menekankan globalisasi kemampuan animasi dan licensing Indonesia masa depan. Untuk itu, KOCCA akan mengaktif mendukung perluasan peluang kerjasama kedua negara. Selanjutnya, kita mendengarkan kata sambutan dari Mrs. Ansehi, CEO I Love Character. Ayo, mohon beri tepuk tangan.
안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 오늘 행사를 준비해 주신 관계자분들께 감사드립니다. 한국에서 유일하게 캐릭터 애니메이션 콘텐츠와 라이선스 정보를 다루는 잡지 아이러브 캐릭터 대표를 맡고 있는 안세희입니다. 인도네시아에서는 세계 제4위 인구를 자랑하는 거대한 시장을 가진 나라입니다. 이처럼 성장 잠재력이 높은 시장으로 평가받는 인도네시아의 캐릭터 산업 발전을 위해 월간 아이러브 캐릭터도 지난해 인도네시아 캐릭터 라이선싱 협회와 캐릭터 라이선싱 기획을 위한 협력과 교류를 골자로 한 양해각서를 체결하기로 했습니다. 한국과 인도네시아의 캐릭터 라이선스 산업 활성화를 위해 정보를 공유하고 교류에 관한 프로그램을 운영함과 동시에 기업 간 네트워킹 프로그램과 워크숍을 정기적으로 참여해 비즈니스를 활성화하고자 합니다. 이를 통해 양국의 콘텐츠 기업들이 아시아 전역과 글로벌 시장에 진출할 수 있도록 비즈니스 모델 개발에 힘을 모으고 양국의 역량 있는 기업 사이에 협력이 활발히 이루어지기를 바라는 마음입니다. 이번 워크숍이 콘텐츠 기업들이 양국의 시장 상황을 이해하고 상호 교류 협력할 수 있는 실질적인 정보를 공유함으로써 비즈니스 기회를 더욱 확대해 나갈 수 있는 방향을 제시하는 소중한 시간이 됐으면 합니다. 감사합니다.
Senang bertemu dengan semuanya. Saya Ansehi, CEO I Love Character. I Love Character ini adalah satu-satunya masalah di Korea yang membahas tentang karakter konten animasi dan informasi lisensi. Indonesia adalah negara yang mempunyai pasar sangat besar dengan populasi terbesar keempat di dunia negara. I Love Character ditandatangani MOU dengan ARMY berdasarkan kerjasama dan pertukaran untuk bisnis licensing karakter pada tahun lalu. Untuk perkembangan industri karakter Indonesia yang dinilai sebagai pasar dengan potensi pertumbuhan tinggi. Untuk kedepannya akan membagikan informasi dan menjalankan program pertukaran, sekalian membuat program networking antara perusahaan dan juga mengadakan workshop secara teratur untuk promosikan bisnis. Melalui ini, perusahaan konten di kedua negara bisa bergabung kekuatan dan saya berharap kita akan bekerja sama untuk pembangunan dan secara aktif bekerja sama antara perusahaan-perusahaan yang kompeten di kedua negara supaya memasuki pasar Asia dan global. Saya berharap workshop ini merupakan cara praktis bagi perusahaan konten untuk memahami situasi pasar di kedua negara dan untuk saling bertukar dan bekerja sama. Terus akan menjadi waktu yang berharga untuk memberikan informasi dan memberikan arahan untuk lebih memperluas peluang bisnis. Terima kasih.
네, 말씀 잘 들었습니다. 안세희 대표님의 애정어린 인사말이 있었는데요. 아이러브 캐릭터는 대한민국 최고의 라이선싱 매거진과 네트워크를 보유하고 있는 만큼 인도네시아 캐릭터 라이선싱 기업에게도 많은 도움이 될 것으로 확신합니다. 다시 한번 인사 말씀에 감사드리면서 마지막으로 인도네시아 캐릭터 라이선싱 협회의 한다리 꾼띠 회장님의 인사말이 있겠습니다. 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Berikutnya kita ajak Ibu Handari Kunti dari Almi. Ya, mohon beri tepuk tangan.
Selamat pagi. Kepada yang terhormat Mr. Kim Yong-su, Regional Director KOCCA Indonesia, Mas Daryl Wilson, Chairman Ainaki, Mr. Sung Ho Hong, Chairman KIA, Mrs. Ansehi, Chairman dari I Love Character. Selamat datang saya ucapkan kepada bapak-bapak, ibu semua yang hadir dan kepada tamu-tamu VIP. Terima kasih atas kehadirannya. Semoga kita semua selalu dalam keadaan sehat. Acara ini merupakan acara kolaborasi pertama setelah MOU antara Almi dan I Love Character. Semoga acara ini bisa bermanfaat untuk kerjasama kedua belah pihak dan dapat menjadi acuan di acara kolaborasi berikutnya. Serta terima kasih juga kami ucapkan kembali kepada KOCCA, Mr. Kim Yong-su atas penyelenggaraan acara ini. Semoga masa pandemi segera berakhir dan kita semua dapat melakukan acara tatap muka seperti sedia kala. Terima kasih hadirin yang sudah hadir, semoga acara dapat berjalan dengan lancar.
좋은 아침입니다. 존경하는 여러분, 이 자리에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 한국콘텐츠진흥원 인도네시아 센터의 김영수 센터장님과 인도네시아 애니메이션 산업협회의 데릴 윌슨 회장님, 한국 애니메이션 산업협회 홍성우 회장님, 아이러브 캐릭터의 안세희 대표님, 그리고 소중한 시간을 내어 오늘 행사에 참석해 주신 내빈과 동료 여러분, 모든 분들께서 항상 건강하시기를 기원합니다. 금일 행사는 알미와 아이러브 캐릭터의 MOU 이후 첫 콜라보레이션 행사로 양사의 협력에 도움이 되길 바라며 이후에 있을 콜라보 행사에 참고가 되었으면 합니다. 이 행사를 주관하신 코카 인도네시아의 김영수 센터장님께 감사를 드립니다. 팬데믹 기간이 곧 종료되고 우리 모두가 예전처럼 대면 행사를 가질 수 있기를 기대합니다. 참석해 주신 분들께 감사드리며 행사가 끝까지 잘 진행되기를 바랍니다.
네, 감사합니다. 한다리 꾼띠 회장님께서는 양국 협단체 간 지속가능한 협력의 중요성을 강조하셨습니다. 이것으로 모든 인사말 순서는 끝이 났고요. 다시 한번 모든 귀빈 인사의 말씀에 진심으로 감사드립니다. 자, 그럼 이번 순서는 한국 그 대표 애니메이션 기업이자 글로벌 흥행작 레드슈즈를 제작한 로커스의 권영진 팀장님께서 언리얼 엔진을 활용한 애니메이션 제작 기술 동향을 유미의 세포들을 사례로 특별 강연을 해주시겠습니다. 모두 큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다. 권영진 팀장님 화면 공유를 부탁드립니다.
Terima kasih atas kata sambutan dari Ibu Handari Kunti. Ibu Handari Kunti menekankan kepentingan kerjasama antara kedua negara yang bisa terus meneruskan. Berikutnya kita ajak Mr. Kwon Young-jin. Jadi, nah kali ini ada ceramah dari Mr. Kwon Young-jin, pimpinan tim Locus, perusahaan animasi termuka Korea yang memproduksi LED Shoes. Judulnya aliran teknologi produksi animasi dengan Unreal Engine. Contohnya dari Yumi's Cells.
네, 시작해 주시면 되겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Everyone, welcome to Unreal Engine Pipeline for TV Animation Yumi Cells. I'm Jin Kwon, the team leader of Unreal Engine team at Locus Studios. A quick background on me. I spent over 20 years of my career lighting, rigging characters, and developing pipelines in visual effects in feature film, full 3D animations, and PC console games. Enough about me. I'd like to introduce you, Yumi Cells. Here's a clip. Yumi Cells is a South Korean television series based on eponymous webtoon, a cell-based psychological romance that unravels the daily life of an ordinary office worker Yumi through the eyes of the cells in her head. The series premiered on September 17th last year. We are currently working on season 2. So if you get a chance, please watch. The challenges. I'd like to begin with the toughest challenges that we struggled with in the beginning of the production. In Locus, we've been creating CG animation using Maya. So all the tools and pipelines are based on Maya. And that's what we are all used to. We had no artist who had experience in making art assets for Unreal Engine or any other game engines other than myself in the beginning. Because of that, the artists were not so much enthusiastic about trying to make an asset in a new way. They tend to keep doing the same way that they've been doing for films in Maya. And there was a tendency to attempt to use Unreal Engine as just another rendering solution. And if you take a, if you take a look at all these issues that I listed out here, they're all caused by the fact that we didn't have game artists. The shortage of game artists, the question was, how are we going to address this problem? Well, the first thing came to my mind, hey, why don't we hire game artists? No brainer, right? I don't want to, get into details, but I can tell you this: we tried it, but did not work. It was not visible. And the next thing came to my mind was, why don't we convert our Maya artist into a game artist? Why don't I teach them how to do it? And maybe all we need is in-house education. So I tried it, but group lessons did not work. Picture this, having over like 100 artists in a room, sitting on uncomfortable chairs, shoulder to shoulder. By the way, this is all before COVID-19, so don't freak out. Looking at a screen like 50 feet away from them and listening to me lecturing through a speaker with no computer in front of them to get their hands on and try, it simply did not work. But good news is one-to-one mentorship worked. Sitting right next to a student, tell him or her which button to click, that works because, it is really literally a hands-on training. So much to learn, so little time. Yeah, so I don't know if you have seen the volume of the documentation of Unreal Engine. It has like thousands and thousands of features. And some of the critical tricks to learn are not even in the documentation. Teaching the whole aspects of Unreal Engine to one by one was not an answer. So here's the idea we came up with. So we have my artist in the house making assets. That's granted. And let's say somehow if you could just automatically create a scene with all the characters and props and backgrounds are ready to be lit, then the artist wouldn't have much trouble lighting the scene, right? Because the lighting process itself in Unreal Engine is not much different from doing in Maya. So we made pipeline tools to automate the process of exporting from Maya and importing back to Unreal Engine and building a sequence shot in Unreal Engine. And when a shot is built, artists might want to adjust an actor. And if they want to change something on an actor, they can simply select the actor and change some numbers in the detail panels. Most of the actors in our show are blueprints, and those values you see on the right-hand side are called parameters. I know it sounds confusing, but please bear with me. I will get into in detail in a sec. And this workflow is perfectly fine with the artist because in Maya, if you want to change something, you select the thing and you change numbers in the channel box. So this is basically the same thing as what they've been doing in Maya. Now, some of you might have said, hey, wait, what is a blueprint? Well, let's get into it. So what is a blueprint? It is visual scripting system in Unreal Engine. Sometimes we call it BP in short. There are two types of BPs. One is level, the other is class. In the production, I use both, but in this particular session, I'm going to be focusing on class only. So when I say blueprint or BP that refers to class, okay? For some reason, my laptop froze. Hold on a second. Okay, now back to work. So what is a class then? Class is a programming term. Class can be anything you like. You can make your own class. You can declare your class to be a cat or a dog or a chair, whatever you like it to be. And you can give any functionality to your class. For example, you can make your cat class go meow, or make your chair class to turn blue or turn yellow or something. Or you can make your dog class to stand with only 3 legs, just like the one in the picture. So that's a class. And for some reason, this laptop is freezing again. Let's see how it goes. Okay, now we moved on. So let's take a look at this actual example in the show. I made a dinosaurs class here. On the left-hand side, I define some functions to this class. For example, I gave him a function to be able to blow fire out of his mouth. On the right-hand side, you can see the parameters that I provided for the artist to tweak colors of the fire or size of the fire or dust effect on his footstep or etc. So most cases, a blueprint is simple enough for artists to adjust parameters without any instruction so that I don't have to teach them every single thing, which is good. But in some cases, like dinosaurs guy here, maybe a little bit overwhelming for artists because there are so many parameters to play with. If that is the case, we give them a field manual. Field manual is a military term. Field manual is a set of simple instruction that tells you what to do under a chaotic and extreme situation, so you don't panic. For example, like when your commander gets shot, you do this, things like that. So basically it's the same deal here. So it is not a textbook that explains how things work in Unreal Engine, but it simply tells you how to use the blueprints that we give them. For example, like, when you buy a car, you get a manual, right? The manual will not explain the mechanics of the engine, but it simply tells you how to use the car, right? So same thing. So if you take a look at this example of the field manual, it simply describes which parameter does what, so that the artist would know which parameter to tweak to get the result they want. In summary, we got pipelines and blueprints prepared, and that it enabled us to have simpler workflow and fewer things to teach and learn. Now let's take a look at the pipeline tools in depth. First of all, we use Network Drive, where we save all the files that we create from Maya and some other software. And we have to run Unreal Engine project on a local hard drive. That's how it works. So some tedious process of exporting files, copying files, and importing files, and all sort of things have to take place. To simplify the process, we made tools for that. But then, because individual artists work on the same project on their local hard drives, we need a way to synchronize the files. We need a way to share the data and backup as well. So we bought this software called Perfers to take care of all that. I don't know if you have heard this, but there's a there's a saying that money cannot solve all the problem, but most of them, this is one of the cases. Pixar Studio is using it. All the major game studios are using it. Even Samsung is using Perforce. So because, you know, it's most stable and reliable data revision and data sharing software, and it works really well with Unreal Engine. By the way, this is not a PPL. I'm not getting any money from them. Just so you know, I just wanted to throw that in. Before we talk about how to export assets from Maya, I'd like to point out that the most important thing to remember when you're making an asset for a game engine, and that is to optimize the assets. For game artists, this comes in naturally. But other CG artists, especially who work in VFX for films or full 3D animations, they do not have this in their DNA, if you know what I mean. I heard some people talking about Unreal Engine 5 and saying, you don't have to optimize anything in Unreal Engine 5 because it renders everything so fast. No, not true. Not yet, at least. I wouldn't count on it. Unreal Engine 5 has a system called Nanite. Nanite enables you to render static mesh faster. A static mesh is a polygon model that does not move during animation or runtime. In our show, we have characters. Characters are not static meshes. We have props. Props are not static meshes. Some of the furniture and built exteriors or interiors are not static meshes in our show. Foliage, such as trees, grass, rocks on the ground, or particle effects such as snow, rain, dust, they're not static meshes. So we must optimize all of those that I just listed out. So it is very easy to overlook. So I wanted to throw that in first. Okay, now we have an asset made, then we need to export the asset in the formats that Unreal Engine can understand. And we made a tool for that, and it looks like this. If you look at the bottom of the tool interface, there are buttons. If you click on the button, it will export a mesh. Of course, you know, you don't have this tool at home, but don't worry about it. I will show you how you can do this manually without this tool in a second. So if you open up one of our characters in Maya, you will notice that we clearly define and organize the things in several different groups in the outliner. So let's go through each group. First, we have a skeleton group that has all the joints of the character. Next, we have a geometry group that has all the meshes to export in FBX format. Next, we have a cache group that has all the meshes to be exported as Alembic cache. We use Alembic cache for the face because we have used some deformers that cannot really go into game engine. We tried not to use Alembic cache as much as humanly possible because it is very, very heavy and painful to use. But we had no choice for the face. So there's a thing. Next, we have a rig control group that has all the animation controls to animate the character with. So move. Okay. Sorry, the laptop is freezing for some reason. To export, we select the skeleton and we parent it. In other words, parent that to the world. And if you look underneath the joints, make sure delete all the constraints or any other unnecessary nodes other than joints. And select all the meshes. It's freezing again, sorry. Come on, move. Okay, unparented. and select the other group and delete. So now all we have left is skeleton and meshes and no other garbage in it. And in some cases, you might get, excuse me, you might get this issue when you delete other nodes. He looks like, he's been crushed down by a press machine. The reason why this happens, it has a lot to do with rigging. So let's take a look. An example of rigging that can cause a problem like this later down the road in production. A skeleton joint has a direct connection to a node that can cause a problem. So if you look at the right-hand side, you will see yellow color channels. Yellow means it has direct connections, and that's not good. On the other hand, blue color channels means they have constraints connected, so that's good. So it is always good idea to have constraints between rig control and a bind joint. After you delete all the unnecessary nodes, select a skeleton and a mesh, bring up export selection tool, make sure smoothing groups and smooth mesh options are turned on, and deformer option as well. Give a file name, click export, then that's it. Then Maya will export a skeletal mesh. Easy enough. And you repeat the same process for each mesh. Select the skeleton, another mesh, export that out. Select the skeleton, select another mesh, export that out. So you keep repeating the same process for each mesh. So in this case, this character has multiple meshes. The question is, how many meshes per actor you should have in terms of optimization? As few as possible, that's the rule of thumb. If you can combine all the meshes into one mesh, that will be the best, if that is possible. But there's some cases where a mesh should be separated out from others. For instance, to apply a blend shape separately, you might want to separate that out. If you want to control visibility, separately in Unreal Engine, then you might want to separate that out. If you want to apply significantly different material, for example, like metal and glass, you might want to separate that out. So that'll be the case. But the point here is the fewer, the better. Now to export geometry cache, it's even simpler. Select the cache group, unparent it, select all the meshes and delete all the history nodes. Then select the other group and delete. Then all you have left is very clean meshes with no other garbage inside. Squeaky clean. Now then you're ready to export. Then select the group, bring up Alembic export window, and make sure you export only one single frame. Click export, then that's it. To sum up, notes in my export. Before you export an asset using export selection tool, delete all unnecessary nodes and histories first. Then you select the nodes that you want to export and export, okay? There are a few things to remember when you export skeletal mesh like characters and props. Joints must be in bind pose, in neutral pose, in other words, and meshes must be in original shapes. So you don't want to scale or transform any joints. You should not deform your meshes in any sort of way before exporting. That's a no-no. Only 2 deformer types are allowed. By the way, I'll get back to it. So skin binding, it is called skin cluster in Maya. Skinning method should be set to classic linear, and total weight per vertex must be equal to 1.0. 1.0. So if you have one like 1.00001 or 9.999, you might say, oh, that's close enough to 1.0. No, that's not good enough. If your character is, let's say, 100,000 units away from original of the world, then you might get some weird deformation going on your character. So please be mindful of that. Morph. In Maya, it is called blend shape. In Maya, blend shape has very special features called in-between target and target weight. Those two features only exist in Maya, so don't use that if you wanna put that in the game engine. So the method of exporting assets that I talked about here are not easiest or the most convenient way of doing it. I know that. There are some other easier and fancier way of doing it, but I can guarantee it that it is the safest way of doing it. So, if your life is too peaceful and dull, and if you feel like you need some like thrills and excitement in your life, you can do whatever you like. But if you want to reduce the chance of getting troubles in the production down the road, like I do, then you should do it this way. Okay, now let's talk about shot export and shot building. I will go through each step. First of all, when we finish animating a shot, we want to export animation data. We call this process publishing. We publish three types of animation assets. One is camera animation in FBX, skeletal animation in FBX, geometry cache in Alembic. And to do that, we made this tool in Maya. One button click will export all three types of animation assets in the scene. And I'll show you how to do it manually without this tool. The laptop is still freezing again. Come on, move. Okay, good. Good. Camera export. As you can see, we use camera with some rigging controls, and it is not safe to export as it is. So what we do is this. We duplicate the camera and we constrain to the original camera. So it will follow the original camera. And we select the duplicated one and we bring up bake simulation tool and we bake it. Then what happens is it will bake out all the keyframes. So we don't need constraint anymore then. Then delete out the constraint and then delete out the original camera. And we bring up export selection tool. Make sure animation option is on and deformer option is off. And then we can just click export and that's it. Next, geometry cache. This is even simpler. Notice that inherit transform attribute is turned off. So that means no matter what this parent is doing, this child will not follow. So that means this group always stays in the original of the world, so it's safe to unparent anytime you like. So unparented, bring up Alembic export tool and make sure you export the whole frame range of your scene and click export and that's it. Simple enough. Good. So next, skeletal animation. Select the skeleton and unparent it and select all the joints like this. And just like we did for camera, we do the same thing here. So we bake it with this bake simulation tool. And so you want to export the whole frame range in the animation and you click bake, and that's it. That will do it. So we got all the keyframes baked out, and select the other group and delete it. Then all you have left for this character is just a skeleton, nothing else, just skeleton, okay? Now here's a trick. Notice that we have morph target names on the root joint. In this way, we don't have to export meshes with blend shapes, morph targets, in other words. We can just simply export the skeleton with keyframes of the morph targets. So no geometry is involved or included. So now we select the skeleton, bring up export selection tool again, make sure animation is turned on, the deformer is turned off, click export, and that's it. Next. Now we just have to simply, copy the files from a network drive to a local hard drive. You can just drag and drop files from a folder to another. It's a simple task, but you can call me a lazy person. We didn't want to do it manually, so we made a tool for that. Because if you're dealing with like thousands of assets, that's a drag, don't you think? So we use this tool to copy the animation assets. I don't have to demonstrate how to copy files, right? So shot build. Now we're gonna have to import all those animation assets into Unreal Engine project. Then we're gonna build the shot. So we call this process shot build. So we made this tool. From the top, I'll go through the interface. You select a show, episode number, sequence number, and the shot number that you want to build. And on the left-hand side, you can select backgrounds you want to include in your scene. It could be a landscape or buildings or anything like that. Click the button at the bottom. It will build the shot for you. Technically, it will do 5 different things in a row. I'll go through what this tool does step by step. First of all, it will create a sequence if it doesn't exist. Remember, I don't know if you know this, I'm sure you know this. There's a sequence, and underneath you have, multiple shots, and that sequence will hold all the shots underneath. Okay, then it will create a level that is basically an empty container. But inside, you will see all the sub-levels that, each sub-level is a background level that you chose in the beginning. And then you will create shot directories where we save all the animation assets. And it will import all the related animation assets to the directories. And you can always import animation assets, through this Unreal Engine tool, but just like the one over here. But again, it's a drag if you're dealing with too many, so we made a tool to handle that. Finally, it will create a shot with all the actors added to the tracks in the sequencer. Then finally, the shot is built. At this point, artists can start lighting the scene from here. Now let's find out how we make an actor blueprint like this one in the picture. In Unreal Engine, for a character actor, we choose a class called skeletal mesh actor. And it looks like this. So this is a typical character of the show. We have a skeletal mesh at the top. And we have decal components for the blushing effect on the cheeks. Make them a little, pinky. And we have face geometry cache. And we have additional skeletal meshes. And some other extra meshes for other users. Remember from earlier, we have functions for this class, this character. Some functions are simple, like the one on the picture here, but some functions are a bit more complicated. I'll give some examples. We try to give artists controllability to adjust materials and textures, like this function in the picture. And we also give visibility controls on meshes if it requires. And once we have a character blueprint, we don't just use as it is. We create a child instance from it. So good thing about this is that if you make a new function to the parent, then all children will have the same function inherited. That doesn't happen in real world, but in game engine, it happens, which is good. So it's much easier to manage many characters at once. Look at all these children. So they're all child blueprints from one parent. Wouldn't that be interesting to have that many children from one parent? Especially one of them is a frog. We'll get back to him in a second. In a child instance BP, you can have additional skeletal mesh or any type of components. For example, this guy has a light bulb, a scooter, and his parent did not have. And you can even have a frog child, which means the base mesh doesn't have to be the same or similar, just like in real world. That's kidding. In some cases, we spot another blueprint from another blueprint. For example, in this case, the function is checking if the character is moving or not. If the character is moving, it will spawn another blueprint at the foot location to project the foot mark on the snow. That's what it is. So if we open up the blueprint that is being spawned, you can find a simple mesh with a material. And if you follow the material, we can find that material is getting inputs from parameter collection. What it does is it will get inputs on demand, on the fly, in real time. So this material can change the look on demand in real time. And this example, when this guy runs, we wanted to have a dust effect on, under his feet. So what I did was to detect the feet location first, then find the location on the ground under the feet. Then it will call custom event to spawn another VFX actor at the locations. So to summarize, blueprint sometimes call another blueprint and call another actor. So we can do whatever you like to happen, really. And we didn't just stop there. We also use blueprints for environment. For example, at night, we could make all the lights automatically turned on if you wanted to. So the way we did that is if we check all the tags on the actors in the scene, we can find out whether or not it is night. If it's night, then this function will turn on the lights and control visibility of the related meshes accordingly. We also use BPs for lighting. A light set is a blueprint we prepared ahead of the time for artists to have a quick lighting template. This is one of our light set BPs. It has skylight, directional light, atmosphere, sky sphere, exponential high fog, and post-process, cloud meshes, all that. So this is a whole set of lighting plus sky environment, all built in. And we made a whole bunch of them to have quick templates to match the color script right away, So hoping artists would have 90% of the lighting work is already done as soon as they place this blueprint into the shot. And we also use blueprints for visual effects such as rain, material effects for the ground and building with snow, or snow falling from the sky, or dirt and rocks and dust with shoveling animation. Paper flyers spread out all over the place. We basically use blueprints everywhere, even the grass on the hill in the background. To sum up, no matter how complex each blueprint is handling all the heavy lifting work under the hood, the artist doesn't have to know the mechanics of it. If they want to change something, they select it and they change numbers, because we keep the workflow this simple. Artists wouldn't have to open up a material editor. I don't even have to teach them how parameter collection works. Artists don't have to know how Niagara system works. They have no idea if you're using runtime virtual texture or even calls and stuff. So it was all possible because we use blueprints. For today, that's all I got. Thank you, everyone.
화면 넣어주십시오. 화면 넣어주세요. 화면 전환이요. 네, 권영진 팀장님, 예, 감사합니다. 강연을 맡아주신 권영진 팀장님께 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
Terima kasih atas spesial ceramah kepada Mr. Kwon Young-jin. Mohon beri tepuk tangan ke Mr. Kwon.
네, 특별 강연인 만큼 흥미롭고 깊이 있는 내용을 다루어 주셨습니다. 강연을 청취한 양국 애니메이션 기업에게 충분한 인사이트가 제공되었기를 바랍니다. 이어서
Ceramah spesial benar-benar mendalam dan menarik. Kami berharap perusahaan animasi kedua negara yang mendengarkan ceramah tersebut memberikan wawasan yang cukup.
네, 이어서 양국 애니메이션과 라이선싱 분야의 주제 발표가 있을 텐데요. 첫 번째, 안동대학교 김시범 교수님께서 한국 캐릭터 라이선싱 산업 동향 및 전망에 대해 발표해 주시겠습니다. 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Seterusnya, tersiap topik presentasi di bidang animasi dan licensing. Pertama-tama, Profesor Kim Si-bom dari Andong National Universitas dengan judul Visi dan Aliran Industri Karakter Licensing Korea. Mohon beri tepuk tangan.
네, 감사합니다. 김시범. Thank you. I'm Sibom Kim from Korea, and it's a great honor to be in this wonderful event with the Korean and Indonesian animation and character licensing business person together. Actually, I was invited by Indonesian government in 2019, one of the Jakarta Institute for Art and Design. But at the time, I couldn't go there, so I really happy to be here with you because I can share my idea with you together. And I would like to say some sorry word because after this presentation, I have another meeting, so I will not be here for a long time. But if you have any questions regarding my presentation, please send me your question to my email address. Then I will answer to you as much as possible. I will introduce myself. I do the study about the business in Korea and in United States and start my career at Samsung Corporation as a merchandising director for the branded items. And then I made my own company and established character line, which develop character and represent many intellectual property items to be licensed to animation and theme park and merchandising items and comic books, etc. And also I advise many companies as well as some of the Korean government agencies, including KOCCA. And now I'm teaching business for the licensing and intellectual properties in one of the graduate school of creative industry in Korea. I advise many institutions, including I Love Character, and now I'm the special advisor to the Court of Korea to advise judge and prosecutor. And in 2017, I established Korea Character Licensing Industry Academy Society and be the first founding president and study and research about the Korea character licensing industry. And in 2018, I went to China to study about the Chinese industry for the creative culture. And now I'm the visiting professor in China in Jilin Animation Institute. They are specialized in developing animation game. And I'm also the advisor to the Korean government, Ministry of the Culture, Sports and Tourism, and etc. The reason I'm telling you this is at this moment I'm teaching at the university, but my research and analysis are based on the industry, based on my more than 20 years of experience in the business and consulting experience to many government and other companies. First, I will start about how Korea character licensing industry has been grown. Actually, in 1995, there was an estimated number of the market size, which is about $1 billion US, but it is just about guesstimation. Actually, after KOCCA, which is a little bit different KOCCA from the KOCCA today, but in 2001, KOCCA started to make a research to estimate this market size. And in 2001, the market size, we need to focus on this, the authentic market and fake market. Almost half of the Korean character licensing industry market assume be the fake market. And in 2002, this is important factors. The domestic character are far less than foreign character. It means that in Korea, 20 years ago, there are many fake items in the market, and there are many foreign IP licensed character business than domestic market. And actually, some of the analysis in 2006 has been changed to 2007 because the value chain has been rearranged. And from 2007 to 2017, there are very fast and significant growth in the market, especially when you see the production, it becomes more than 2 times. And when you see the licensing, it is more than 2 times. And export has been 3 times. And import has been decreased. So you can see some of the general idea how the Korean character licensing industry has been changed. And recent numbers, especially 2019 and 2020, you can see some of the numbers are remain same and sometimes a little bit decreased, but it is because of the pandemic of the corona. So we need to separate from 2019 to 2020 because of different social systems has been applied to our lives. So today I will tell you about what had been go through as well as what we will face in the future. Before starting the general idea, I will show you some specific cases. In 1999, there was a, I'm sorry, this is a Korean newspaper. I couldn't translate them all, but maybe you can see some of the face in front. It was a little bit different from my face at this moment, but it is the same person. It's more than 25 years ago. I licensed Korean character to France, and that was one of the earliest stage to license. So it was on newspaper. And as you see, that is before KOCCA has been established. And after this, maybe you can see this person from Brazil. Actually, you can see some other young businessman who looks very different from me at this moment, but it is the same person. In 2005, when President Lula from Brazil visited Korea, they asked me to receive President and his wife with character from Brazil because I was the licensing agent from Brazil. And those characters were licensed more than 3,000 items. And there were theme park in Brazil. And there are very interesting licensed business. So I went there to receive President and his wife. And I found that the power of licensed character is much stronger because there were many CEOs from Samsung and POSCO who stand behind me. So I must tell you that the power of intellectual property of the culture, especially character, animation, and this licensed business represent the country and very important in the diplomatic matters. And as a scholar, I started to make a map of the licensing industry, and I do not have enough time to tell you all of this, but I must want to stress the three different stages: resource, IP, and utilizing stages. For the licensing business, these three stages should be very harmonized and well developed with these support sectors, including legal, finance, marketing, education, platform, instrument, technology, and culture society. And if those are well developed, hollow sectors, which means the tourism, reputation, brand of country, consumer products are infected by animated character licensed business. So when you do this business, you may think about your own company to make profit by this, but you must also consider, especially for the association of the animation and licensing business, you must know how to develop this support sector in your country and how to make this licensing business will influence your country and your region and your industry as well. So I will tell you about some of the prospects from now on, what we need to face and we will expect in the future. As we do some of the meeting through this Zoom, Teams, Google, now we live in a remote meeting area. And through these meetings, of course, there are some tries, and we feel some sorry we could not meet person to person, but these matters becomes one of the new normal of the life. So there are many people who work at home. It makes people believe they are real human being, even they are cyber human character. So think about now these humans are represented by cyber human characters. Can you recognize the difference between human and the cyber human character? It is very difficult, especially when you have a remote meeting at home. There are many famous human characters on the cyber world, and they made a lot of money by themselves, as well as they represent some of the business now, like LG Electronics and the VI Games, and even the news anchor, there is a cyber character. And even the presidential candidate make their AI character in politics. So remember, cyber human character is one of the new area for our business. Second one is remote art business. In many other countries, not only character but also art are licensed, especially when we face the remote period. This replacement on cyber place are very comfortable for users feel same thing. There are many cases. So now there's a company who rent their real art, but people can replace that art in their home before they bought, before they rent it. So it makes people feel a little bit easier to decide which art are more comfortable for us. For example, like these are the space, the same living room, but they put different art. So they will select suitable for their own living room. This becomes very famous and popular. More and more business are possible. Last point I'd like to mention today is regional public character. Many of you already know this character from Japan, Kumamon. Actually, in Japan, 2008, government changed the tax refund system, and they makes this regional character become more popular. And in 2012, I made a speech at Jeju Island, organized by the KOCCA and the regional contents agencies, the importance of the regional character. And then KOCCA started this Regional Public Character Festival in 2018. So there are many characters which were developed in early 2000 years, but didn't use because they didn't know how to use and how to license. But now they start to think about utilizing these characters, and KOCCA support them. And from next year, Korea also change the tax refund law to support these activities. As information, I will just share with you some character licensing fair in Korea, which will be held in this year. The Busan Contents Market, Korea Character Licensing Fair, Seoul Pop Culture Convention, Gwangju Ace Fair, I Love Character Licensing Show. And especially, I suggest you think about joining this Korea Character Licensing Fair, which will be on July. This was the picture of last year. And I Love Character Licensing Show, which will be held on this November. And this slide shows the last year's picture. I hope many Korean and Indonesian companies can meet together again and share the idea and develop the business together. And if you have any questions and if you have any advice from me, send me your questions. I'll be happy to answer as much as possible. terima kasih. 감사합니다.
네, 김시범 교수님 감사합니다. 교수님 발표를 통해서 지난 20년간 한국 캐릭터 라이선싱 산업의 발전상을 살펴볼 수 있는 매우 값진 시간이었습니다. 다시 한번 감사의 말씀을 드립니다.
Baik, melalui presentasi Profesor Kim Si-bom, kita bisa menjadi tahu perkembangan industri animasi Korea dalam 20 tahun belakangan ini. Sekali lagi terima kasih atas presentasi yang bermakna.
네, 아궁 라흐마완 팀장님 발표 감사드립니다. 자, 그럼 이어서 로커스의 황수진 본부장님께서 급변하는 콘텐츠 시장에서 3D 애니메이션의 기회에 대해 발표해 주시겠습니다. 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Terima kasih Bapak Agung Lakmawan. Berikutnya kita mendengarkan topik presentasi Mrs. Hwang Sujin selaku Direktur dari Locus. Judulnya Kesempatan Animasi 3D dalam Pasar Konten yang Cepat Berubah Seluruh Dunia.
Hello. Hi, my name is Sujin Hwang, and I'm the director of Locus Animation Division. I'm very honored and happy to speak today about the opportunities of 3D animation in changing market. Before I start, let me introduce our company first. Can I share my screen now? Sorry for delaying. So I want to talk about the opportunity of 3D animation in changing market today. Before I start I'd like to start with a brief introduction of our company, Locus. Locus is a producer of original contents based on its top-tier CGI technology. Locus has been established. Locus established at 2009, and we have over 250 people now. Locus has been working with over the past 13 years with hundreds of people, and we have created numerous videos and our own characters, including over thousands of commercials, over 70 or 80 titles of game cinematics, and over 100 episodes of series animation, and one feature-length animation for theaters. So I can go through with the images of game cinematic and commercial films and series animation we have created back in 2018. I'm not sure it was on air in Indonesia, but it was called Running Man. And last year we have created animation in drama, which was Yumi's Cells, based on the original webtoon contents. And back in 2019, we finished our first feature film, animated feature film, Red Shoes, and it was on the theater on 2019 in Korea. So we have created so many types of images so far. So maybe I can show you some short trailer of cinematic later. And before, I'd like to introduce our subsidiaries too. So Sidus is a film company with a 20-year tradition, and they produced numerous hit films so far. And Sidus X, which made Korea's most famous virtual influencer, Rosie. She is the most famous, really famous virtual influencer at the moment in Korea. So these two companies are Locus's subsidiaries. So you can see the Rosie imagery. So, and also from this year, Locus will continue to produce excellent works as a subsidiary of Naver Webtoon. So let's take a quick look at some videos we produced. It's only about the cinematics, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it. So COVID-19, the pandemic has started 2 years ago, and the content market has gone through and is going through drastic changes over past 2 years. So to begin, I'd like to start by pointing out the obvious changes and characteristics of the market first. So the first thing I want to talk about is the biggest change, I think, is since the last pandemic is the main way of consuming content. The dominant platform has been changed, and people who used to go to the theater doesn't go to the theater anymore. So window has been changed drastically, and a lot of new platform has been opened. And in Korea alone, many platforms are in service, as you can see here. So, and I myself have subscribed almost all of them. I subscribed to YouTube, Disney Plus, Netflix, Prime Video. So I spend much money, maybe more money than before. So it means that rather than the traditional platforms such as theaters or regular TV programs, so watching content using OTT platforms as a form of SVOD is the new norm. Sorry about the Korean words, but as you can see in the graph, the left one is the theater, and the right graph is the OTT. So you can see it grows very drastically, but the other one, the theater and the legacy media, is declining sharply since 2019. I think the situation around the world is no different. It says on the media over the top, like OTT media revenue is expected to reach over $210 billion by 2026. And it is more than like double the 106 billion like it was generated in 2020. So obviously the market is really expanding fast. And with this major change, the market change affects us like in this way. It changes the format, and it changed the topic or subject or theme of the contents and the quantity. The major changes of content consuming platform led to clear changes with content format and topics. Like it is becoming more diverse and free. So there has been some standard formats when we watched animations in TV and in legacy media. But after we using OTT platforms, we don't need to match the time, and we don't need the specific formats of the content. So you can go with various types of theme, and each episode doesn't have to be exactly the same length, like 22 minutes or 11 minutes per episode. It doesn't have to do. So depending on how the story progresses, it may be a little longer or shorter. Sometimes the number one episode is 70 minutes, and the second episode is 27 minutes. So also the number of episodes that make up the season varies. So we can see a lot of TV, a lot of animation series in Netflix or other OTT platforms. There are various formats. And in terms of theme, the subject and topics of the theme has also become very free and liberate. As an example, Netflix made experimental attempts through the omnibus animation series Love That Stuff, Robots. I believe everybody knows about this show, and it has been made to second season. And we have witnessed a lot of really bold tries over this medium. And I love that Strava using like more liberal and diverse stories and video languages. It was quite shocking at that time. And the next change which follows to this is like given more freedom, the amount of content exploded. Like with each OTT service starting to compete, it like 2002, this year, only this year, more than 400 dramas will be produced in Korea. That means lifespan of contents has been shortened. So as a result, like every month and every week, you can see a new top hit movies or TV series or dramas or animations. So lifespan of contents doesn't go that long like before. So with these fast and rapid releases, the content that ranked first on Netflix 2 months ago is no longer in people's mind. You cannot remember what was the number 1 episodes or contents like 3 months ago, although I remember, but yeah. So in this kind of changes made the original IP more important. Now the original work has become more important than ever. As you can see here, many of recent video contents hit like the hit contents are based on web novels and web comics, web cartoons, webtoons, or games. And the success of such content brings new customers into the original contents as well. So I think we are witnessing a significant one-source multi-use cycle, the true one-source multi-use cycle. So I also want to speak about the market change. Like it was the boundaries between IT and content companies was blurred. A lot of IT companies bought content companies or vice versa. And there has been some new format, like new forms of content consumption. So I'd like to talk about the possibility of 3D animation within all these changes that happened and are still taking place. So technology, I want to say that technology is at the heart of this change. In particular, amongst the teens and teenagers or 20s, I'm sorry. There has been a new way of consuming like contents. So it goes with the often referred to as a metaverse, or it has a specific service or game name like Zapato, Roblox, or Minecraft. Whatever you imagine, the number of people who are using these kind of apps or services are like expanding enormously. And I want to point out that there is a common technology that stands out, a common factor that works with both the way content is created and the stage where younger generation enjoy it. It is 3D technology. So I want to talk about the opportunity of 3D animation here. Numerous 3D animation contents have been produced so far. Lots of 3D animation contents have been produced, but it was only the 3D animation contents. But now it has been changed. 3D animation is no longer just the video content. The numerous characters, backgrounds, and the props in it will all exist as digital assets, which means we can earn from them. before we have to finish with all these assets in content. So finally it became one content with story, character, environment, sound. But nowadays with new form of platform or new way of consumption, or for younger generation, it became more liberal, and each of the subject can be existing as a asset. So as you can see here, I just brought some images from Yumi cells, which can be used in metaverse platform for younger generation. Like in Zepato, we can use this character for their prefer. And also all of the images and the 3D props and environment, even the sound can be used by consumer. Of course, there is a challenges, which is a new standard of the success of content. Maybe before we can gather a lot of people through our contents, like in the theater or in there was very limited way to success. But nowadays, with these various platforms and with these various ways of consumption, we can maybe bring people to recreate using our contents, using our assets, using our character, environment, props, or music. So we have to continue technological advancement, and we have to create more advanced content using the original IP. So I'd like to say it is a technical aspect and creative aspect. To develop even better, we also will continue to ponder such challenges, and we will do our best to achieve meaningful and like success with digital assets. And we will incorporate new pictures and technologies in the coming new market in the future. So okay, that was it I wanted to talk about today. Thank you.
If you invite me to, hello, yeah. Invite me to take content Bizweek. So I'm working in MS Animation as a CCO. So I'm handling the animation creative and then production also in the company. So I just want to introduce an Indonesian animation market with a case study with the MS Animation. Sorry, this is me. Yeah. So yes, it's not that great. So first of all, I want to introduce the INAKI, Indonesian Animation Association. So animation also one of the member of INACI. The INACI is more than 100 animation company, not only animation studio actually. So, but all industry regarding animation business, and then university also the member for the INACI. Actually, the animation studio in Indonesia, they focus to the biggest two kind of a business. The one is IP business, one is the animation services. So I heard that it's a big data from the INACI. More than 120 studio has been recorded export to services already got to the global market. That in year 2020, they reached around 1 trillion rupiah, which means USD 70 million. So this is a very pretty big market. So Indonesia studio also have create a lot of their original IP for the animation. Still in early stage, but many animation studios are developing their own IP, producing animation and distributing their product through the TV or OTT channel. So you see the chart, the Indonesia animation market is growing, and then the very potential market, I believe. So talking about the animation. We also putting a lot of effort into the expanding additional business space on the animation IP, such as theme park, games, merchandising, and other value-added services for the animation. So MNC Animation is established in 2011 under MNC Media Group. We started with the Entong TV series, and MNC Animation is currently producing distribution, theater, movie, and TV series with 6 our own independent IPs. Let's see our company profile video. It's around 2 minutes. How to play the video?
Animation is part of the MNC Group, and we're developing several intellectual properties, or what we call IPs. We've started out with KOCCA, which is currently on the air. We've also developed Titus, the detective, and also created other IPs like Din Din Movie and Princess Azura. We have some secret IPs that we're also developing we can't talk about yet, and several of these will be television shows as well as some feature films.
Our goal in the next 5 years is to become a globally well-known animation studio from Indonesia that successfully produces and distributes more than 10 of its intellectual property all over the world.
Kiko selama ini sudah berjalan selama kira-kira 3 tahun, dan sepanjang itu kami juga sudah memenangkan 2 penghargaan nasional, dan kami percaya itu karena kami berusaha menumbuhkan cerita yang menarik di tiap episodenya dan juga karakter-karakter yang menarik untuk anak-anak.
Jadi nilai yang disampaikan itu adalah seperti persahabatan, kekeluargaan, tolong, itu yang diceritakan oleh karakter Kiko di series.
Kiko adalah karya animasi Indonesia yang pertama kali menembus pasar internasional, dan tak lama lagi Kiko akan tayang di berbagai negara. Kami harap serial Kiko dapat menginspirasi semua pelaku kreatif untuk selalu berkarya dengan baik, dengan mengutamakan kualitas, sehingga generasi kita mendatang dapat menikmati animasi-animasi Indonesia yang berstandar internasional dan dapat bangga terhadap animasi-animasi lokal.
Yeah, starting with the Entong TV series in year 2011, we produced 3 seasons of Kiko also KICO theatrical movie, and Jackstone, which is we co-produced with Method Animation in France, 3G Animation in Korea. Also Titus theatrical movie and Bima season 1. And that animation is aired on our TV station. Currently, we are producing a Titus TV series also, and then Dinda Novi theatrical movie, and KICO season 4 and the Bima season 2 also at this moment. Will be here soon. So why animation? Why focus animation in the media group? Because there are big opportunity for our media business. The MNC Media Group is operating 4 free-to-air TV channel, and then 13 our own cable channels. Also 2 OTT services in our group. The distributing animation to all Indonesian area through our own satellite and cable. Yeah, of course, we also have some YouTube channel running. However, we are not considering producing exclusive content for YouTube like in Korea at this moment. We only focus to the TV airing and OTT. So KICO case. KICO is the most representative IP for the MS animation actually. So since year 2016, we got many awards in Indonesia and also in Singapore. Titus, it was our first theatrical animation movie that we produced and released on January 2020, just before the pandemic actually. Distribute through the more than 200 theaters in Indonesia, and then market feedback was pretty good. For the first time as an Indonesian animation, I believe it was an honor to be distributed through the Netflix. KICO also dubbed with the 4 languages, which is English, Spanish, and Portuguese, and Indonesian, and currently being broadcast in more than 60 countries, including the US, Europe, South America, as well as Disney XD and Netflix also. Yeah, this is a country that we aired KICO animation actually. Also, we collaborate with the KFC, released on DVD series on sold out 500,000 copies in 3 months. It's very good feedback, good market feedback. Licensing and merchandising. We respond to Bima. One of our animation IP, the name is Bima. Already produced the season 1 and aired on LCTI channel. We cooperation with the local plastic toy company, and then it was good response, such as receiving 1.5 million pre-orders in a month. And then we keep produce the additional toy for the Indonesian market. Yeah, besides toy, we are also do the licensing in the local market, such as the FMCG market. So we did some upfront event before the pandemic. At this moment, yeah, it's not been possible to the pandemic. So hopefully the pandemic is done, and then we really want to start the offline event again. So gaming application also. Our own development team is producing the end service gaming using our animation IP, the KICO. So we released the KICO Run and the Roller Bakery. The KICO Run is we already achieved the 4 million downloads, and then the Roller Bakery also has been 500,000 downloads. We are keep updating the game content based on the animation content updates. The theme park. Actually, this is the biggest reason why MNC invests a lot in animation industry, because of the theme park project. It used our own IP, and currently MNC Media Group is build a theme park, the 2 times bigger than Universal Studio in Singapore, and in Rido area. It's nearby Jakarta. The animation team also collaborate with the theme park team to design the theme park and attraction, exterior, and then concept, other things. So besides the MNC, there are many successful IPs such as Shizuki or Nusa, also produced by local animation company. Based on this, there is many interest about the investment and production in Indonesian animation business. So this is the last one, because our marketing team asked me to tell this one. So we will, Bima Season 2 will be out soon. So please watch this on Asia channel. Thank you.
네, 이사님 발표 잘 들었습니다. 감사합니다. 이로써 2022 한인니 애니메이션 캐릭터 라이선싱 워크숍의 특별 강연 및 주제 발표를 모두 마치겠습니다. 다시 한번 발표를 준비해 주신 모든 분들께 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 이어 질의응답 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다. 발표 내용과 관련한 질문이 있으시거든 질문해 주시기 바랍니다.
Terima kasih kepada Mr. Chung. Sehingga ini kita selesai special lecture dan topik presentasi yang siapkan hari ini semua. Sekali lagi terima kasih atas untuk presentasi semuanya. Dan kali ini sekarang ada tanya jawab. Misalnya kalau ada Bapak Ibu pertanyaan kepada presenter hari ini, silakan tanya.
질문하실 분은 소속과 함께 질문을 해주시면 감사드리겠습니다.
Kalau ada pertanyaan, tolong terangin dari perusahaan mana dan namanya sebutin dulu.
마이크 전달해 주시기. 네, 마이크 전달해 주시기 바랍니다.
Ya, terima kasih. Nama saya Ehwan mewakili dari Ainaki. Saya mau bertanya kepada Mr. Kim Kwon ya, dari Locus terkait dengan Unreal Engine pipeline for TV animation. Seberapa efektifkah dan seberapa efisienkah dalam penggunaan pipeline Unreal Engine itu dalam produksi untuk TV animasi dibanding software-software animasi yang sudah ada seperti Maya atau Blender misalnya. Mungkin bisa dijawab dulu. Terima kasih.
네, 저는 인도네시아 애니메이션 산업협회의 애흐완입니다. 권진영 팀장님께 질문 드리고 싶은데요. 영상을 제작하는 과정에서 언리얼 엔진 기술을 사용했을 때 어떤 효율성을 기대할 수 있는지 여쭙고 싶습니다.
얘기할까요? 잘
네,
들립니까?
팀장님 답변해 주시면 되겠습니다.
네. 영어로 할까요?
한국어로 하셔도 되고요. 뭐 내용이 길다면 영어로 바로 답변하셔도 되겠습니다.
Well, Unreal Engine renders fast, that's given, right? And not only that, on runtime, everything runs in real time in game engine. So you can change things on the fly. For example, remember from earlier, I was talking about a character walking on a snow and it will make footprints. If you are doing it in Maya, you will, make your character walk on the snow, and then when you finish your animation, you will send that to VFX artist to make footprints on the snow matching the animation. And if your director change his or her mind, which they do all the time, if that's so, then say, hey, make him walk slower or faster or walk in a curve or things like that. So whenever you change your animation, VFX artists need to take over and make footprints on the snow again to match the animation. But in game engine, there's no need to work on footprint effect again, because you can always automate this character to make footprint on the snow along the animation in real time. So the point is, so if you can use Unreal Engine as a game engine, not just as a renderer, take advantage of what it can do in real time, then you will get more efficiency in your production. That's what I think. That's it.
예, 답변 감사합니다, 팀장님. 다음 질문이 있으실까요? 질문이 있으신 분은 손을 들고 소속과 이름을 말씀하신 다음에 질문을 부탁드리겠습니다.
Apakah ada pertanyaan lagi? Iya.
Ya, nama saya Daryl dari Ainaki. Pertanyaan saya ditujukan kepada Mrs. Sujin terkait opportunity animation di Korea Selatan maupun di Indonesia. Mungkin dalam konteks kira-kira opportunity apa yang bisa dibentuk antara studio Korea Selatan dengan Indonesia untuk bisa masuk ke kedua pasar ya, pasar Korea Selatan dengan pasar Indonesia. Nah, kira-kira opportunity apa yang ada di situ dan bentuk kerjasama seperti apa yang dicari mungkin oleh studio-studio di Korea. Terima kasih.
네, 저는 인도네시아 애니메이션 산업협회 아이나키 회장 데릴 윌슨입니다. 황수진 본부장님께 여쭙고 싶은데요. 한국과 인도네시아의 애니메이션 기업 간에 한국에 있는 애니메이션 스튜디오와 인도네시아 애니메이션 업체 간에 협업 가능한 사업은 어떤 형태의 것들이 있을 수 있는지 여쭙고 싶습니다.
Thank you for the question. Can you hear me?
예, 잘 들립니다.
네, 간단하게 영어로 하고 제가 영어가 좀 더 설명하고 싶은 것이 있으면 한국어로 하도록 하겠습니다.
네.
First of all, the production cost and the manpower and technology, these three things are always difficult things for us. So maybe, and I heard that in Indonesia, there are a lot of young people who can produce the animation, or maybe the technology also I was really impressed by the presentation before, and maybe the technology and the quality of the contents you are making is really fantastic. So maybe we can cooperate or co-produce some kind of content which is aimed to the younger generation, like young people, and maybe we can use same IP and co-produce, and in Korea, maybe I think it's all the same in the world. Nowadays, there are very, very many people, lack of people. Every companies are having some same problem to get people or production members. So maybe in that part, I think we can cooperate together.
네, 답변 감사합니다. 예, 저 다릴 윌슨 회장님께서 또 답변에 대해서 만족하신다고 제스처를 취해 주셨습니다. 예. 자, 그럼 더 이상 그 질문이 없으실까요? 어떻습니까? 예, 질문이 없으시면 그럼 이것으로 2022 한인이 애니메이션 캐릭터 라이센싱 워크숍을 모두 마치도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 행사를 위해 귀한 시간을 내어주신 내빈 여러분과 모든 참석자분들께 진심으로 감사드립니다. 다음번 행사에서 반갑게 만날 날까지 건강하시길 기원드립니다. 감사합니다.
Bapak Ibu, kalau sudah tidak ada pertanyaan lagi, hingga ini kita mengakhiri acara Korea Indonesia Animation Character Licensing Workshop 2022. Terus kalau untuk kedepannya, Dan terima kasih hari ini yang mendatang semuanya, yang menghadiri semuanya, dan untuk presentasi siapkan semuanya. Jadi para ketua-ketua dari Korea dan Indonesia mau ucapkan terima kasih sekali lagi. Dan untuk kedepannya sampai kita jumpa lagi, semoga sehat semuanya dan kita aman semua. Terima kasih.
네, 고맙습니다.
Recording stopped.